Okri. Good evening,
Good evening.
and I'd like to thank you for coming to our program. And the first question I'd like to ask you is to tell us a few words about the Famished Road.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for asking me on your program. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure, and a great joy to be in Greece, and particularly in Athens. It's very difficult talking about a book like The Famished Road. I'll do my best to make it very short. Essentially, The Famished Road is a novel about a spirit child. And a spirit child is a child, we have a name for it in Nigeria, it's called the Abiku child. It's a child that keeps being born, and it keeps dying, and it keeps coming back. So it's a cyclical child. It's a child that doesn't like reality. If you like, in some ways, it's even an existential child. Doesn't like reality because it perceives of reality and existence as being very difficult and full of suffering and full of pain, and that human beings on the whole don't have very much of a talent for redeeming experience and for making life beautiful. And quite apart from that, spirit children come from the world of spirits, which is a land of joy and light and rainbows, possibilities, a land of freedom, a place of eternities, if you like, and silence, music. So if they have that other kingdom, why would they want to come here and suffer what we suffer? Loves and mortgages and misunderstandings and pains and bereavements and mourning. They don't like existence. So this novel is about this particular spirit child. The reason why I chose this spirit child to write about is because he's, for me, a unique type of hero. He's a child who has a choice between eternity and mortality, but chooses mortality. This is a spirit child that chose to live this life. So what you have is somebody who has the capacity of a more beautiful existence, but has chosen to live a difficult one. And by following this child through reality, I begin to investigate reality afresh for the first time, magically. And he gives me that opportunity to look at life afresh.
Through the perception of innocence, through the eyes of a child, or through the eyes of something beautiful, if you like, if we consider humans ugly.
Through the eyes of all of the things you've said, but also through the eyes of somebody, of a child who is a perpetual stranger to reality. So everything Azaro, the main character, sees is tinged with magic because it's seen for the first time, and it's seen without a name, and it's seen without any preconceptions. Everything glows with possibilities. That's how I think that we, as human beings, should live the life. It's just somewhere between the ages of 5 and 8 or 9. Experience, history, our parents, our teachers, something, somewhere, someone takes that magic away from us. And only occasionally do we see life like that. But I was fascinated because I think every now and again we owe it to ourselves as human beings to rediscover existence and life. And I felt fortunate to have a character to help me do that.
Can that be done, though, forever, or is it done for specific moments of our existence?
Can that be done forever?
In the sense of...
All the time, at a perpetual plateau of intensity and joy. That's a very, very difficult philosophical question. All the great religions seem to suggest that it is possible to live not at a peak, but certainly at a plateau of serenity. One should be able to be at home in reality. One should not feel that one is only here for a very short visit and that everything in this life is unfriendly towards us. One should be able to be at home with existence, with time, with mortality. One should be. After all this, for while we're alive, this is the only home we have. and it's a brief sort of stay. If we're not at home with reality and with life now, well, why are we here? Why do we stay?
That's the morbid question we always ask ourselves, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a wonderful question, actually, because it can be a morbid question and it could lead to suicide, but then it could also be a question that is full of light and can lead towards self-transcendence. It can lead towards a desire to sort of look at your life differently and live it differently and see what is important and what isn't, and what we give value. I learned a lot. The child taught me a lot. I had to let him take me by the hand very gently through existence and through characters and history and through philosophies and dreams.
But as real, as imaginary, and mystical as the life as Azaro's life is, the life of the father is very, very real. And we see at the same time, in a sense, you show what is happening in Nigeria, or in any imaginary Nigeria for that matter, in any country, the struggle of a people and a race. How different is that? Because we see the father also starting to change.
Yes. Yes, I should have said that Azaro chose to live this life. He not only chose to live, he also chose to live and to be born into a poor family that's undergoing a great deal of suffering and a great deal of difficulties. So he chose the hardest possible life to live. And his father is a carrier of heavy loads at the marketplace. There are points where I make references to, I connect him to Atlas in some ways, ironically, in the sense that he's carrying a load of suffering and pain. And his mother is a hawker, a street hawker, who sells things in the streets and so on. The conjunction of this eternity that the child carries in him and the suffering that he has to live in this life, for me, seemed to be a very apt way to talk about how we live and why we stay, and why we carry on. Because there's something magical inside this flesh, inside this marrow of our life, that makes us push that rock up that hill again every morning, after it's rolled back down in our sleep. And it's just quite possible that all of literature is an investigation of this same basic question.
That it is worth rolling the rock up the hill every morning.
That our lives is justified. Yeah.
But politics, I do want to just go on about
the politics. Yes.
Politics does play a role in it, because you show a character who is not the character of the father, that is, who in a sense is not taken in by the grand words and the grand language of the political parties. And he in effect creates a new language for himself, one that he understands given his position within the compound, if you like. Do you think that's a real solution? I mean...
You mean language, creating a new language, breaking the deadlock of political language?
Yes, and in effect creating your own political struggle, whether it's within the compound or the confines, if you like, of your personal life, or generally, or a nation.
Yeah, well, yes. I think it's one of the important duties of the citizen, isn't it, to always widen the political struggle. I mean, you don't accept the political dichotomies that the state or the government, as it were, presents to us. In most countries, it tends to be 2 or 3 parties. It usually comes down to 2 parties at the end of the day, or 3 with one in the middle. And I think it's our civic and human responsibility to make the language of politics speak for us, ordinary human beings, and speak to us. In other words, we have to break the deadlock of their terminology, their definition of what is important. We also have to, we the ordinary people of nations, I think the greatest thing that we do for our countries is to bring our own individual creativity along with our own individual pain to the whole political process. Because I've been following the American elections, and I found it very amusing the way it mirrors the elections that's taking place in the Famished Road. And the same thing was true in Great Britain with the elections there. Politicians always, they talk about very abstract things. They don't talk about things that give you a tinge of recognition. Do you know how it is? Sometimes a friend can talk to you and they'd say something and you get a feeling of the spine of your back. You just get a feeling run up your spine of recognition. This person is speaking to my soul. He's speaking to me, to my difficulty, to my life. It's very rare in political language that this is done. This is something we should do. As human beings and writers should certainly do that, should make it possible, make it necessary for the politicians to talk to us as living individuals. And for them to be able to do that, they've got to listen to us. And for them to do that, they've got to be us, in a way. They've got to be as humble as we are.
Do you believe that they're not as humble?
I think power tends to withdraw humility from human beings on the whole. Power tends to block up the ears of people. It tends to introduce spectacles so thick and so impenetrable over the eyes that they see a completely different reality. I'm not saying that politicians on the whole are not well-meaning people. I'm just saying that they have a greater responsibility to overcome all the obstacles that power puts in their path, that power puts between them and us. The more politicians care about human beings and care about us, the greater they must overcome all the fences that power gives them. They've got to come down from the hill and come and listen to us and suffer with us. In other words, they have to be greater human beings.
Than us.
Than us, yes.
Yes.